Welcome back. With Congress divided and the White House in Democratic control, the GOP has little leverage. The GOP could have closed down the government, but the public wouldn't have supported that. And the Democrats would have been blamed for all the problems. The GOP would have been pointed at. So this bipartisan deal has been made, and it's been signed by President Biden. So let's dive a little deeper on how this all came together. We're joined by Georgia Representative Rich McCormick. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee as well and a retired U.S. Marine. Thank you so much for being here, Congressman. Walk us through the public perception of this. If the government would have shut down, what would it have meant for the Republicans and for Speaker McCarthy?
So the Republicans would have suffered, in my opinion. I think Joe Biden would have made it as absolutely painful as possible. They have controlled the discretion of the budget at that point, what's left over. And I think that they would have closed down military spending. They would have made sure that the elderly and poor suffered as much as possible and blamed it on us, even though 70% of the budget has already been appropriated. And we made sure that the military would have been paid, but the Senate wouldn't have passed that. We were kind of stuck with what they had left over. We had a great temporary budgeting process figured out yesterday. The day before yesterday, we voted on that. It failed. So, of course, we were left over with the more liberal policy of basically a straight CR that now we're stuck with until we get the rest of the appropriations done.
Congressman, are you happy with the deal? Do you think that it's fair?
It's not what I wanted. I voted against it. I think we could have gotten something better. But then we're also out of time. We only had a few hours till the end of the timeline. But the day before, I thought we had something good, and I voted yes for that. But I didn't want to hand the keys over to Biden and continue the horrible omnibus spending that we are doing right now. So I was looking to stay in control. What we end up with is another extended period of time to actually deal with the appropriation.
I want to move on to this. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz slammed McCarthy's comments on the stopgap bill, to avert this government shutdown. A congressman calling for the speaker's gavel this morning. Watch.
Are you going to do it? Are you going to move to oust him?
Kevin McCarthy's going to get his wish. I don't think the adults in the room would lie to House conservatives, and that is exactly what Kevin McCarthy did. In January, to get the speakership, Kevin had to agree to certain guardrails on spending. He made that commitment. He broke it. And if at this time, next week, Kevin McCarthy is still Speaker of the House, it will be because the Democrats bailed him out, and he can be their speaker, not mine.
So, Congressman, Speaker McCarthy did the right thing, though. He got the deal done before the deadline. Shouldn't more Republicans be supporting him?
Yeah, there's always going to be a certain number of people who are going to be dissatisfied. Calling for his ousting isn't helpful. He's not going to be ousted. That's just not realistic. Of the 20 members that may or may not vote for him to be the speaker, there is no replacement. There's no alternative. We could spend a whole lot of time in Congress wasting more time instead of appropriating, instead of getting a bill done. And so it's a bit hypocritical to say we're going to spend time on replacing a speaker we can't replace when we're supposed to be doing our job.
That's a great point. This 45-day bill signed by President Joe Biden, Republicans argue that it was the clean bill Democrats wanted, but it would keep the government funded at current levels while including billions of dollars for disaster relief, in line with the previous request by the Biden administration. So, Congressman, doesn't it feel like the Democrats are taking back both the control of both chambers with this, or would you disagree with that statement?
No, that's why I didn't like this process. That's why I voted for the previous day. We had actually a temporary funding that was going to cut dramatically our spending, put control back in our hands. And then when we came through with a clean CR, it basically goes to the omnibus spending from the year previously. The reason the Democrats originally said they were going to be against it is because it had an increase in funding for our own pay. Which was false, of course. That was just another talking point. Jeffries obviously was extending to see if the Senate could get their bill over and jam us even further. And then somebody pulled a fire alarm to delay it also. So the Democrats obviously got caught playing dirty politics. We probably got the only thing passed we could get passed to actually have something from the House rather than something from the Senate. So At least we got that, but it wasn't what I wanted.
I want to ask you one last question real quick, because I know you sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee. The Democrats of the House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee asking that the U.S. Department pause a portion of military aid to Egypt, conditions on the human rights criteria. This is in wake of Menendez's indictment. Do you agree with that? Should aid be paused for Egypt in wake of what's happened?
So it's not really so much what I want, but what the entire body wants. Right now, there's a movement inside the Republican Party that we shouldn't aid anybody outside the United States until we fund our southern border. Of course, as a part of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I don't believe that. As a matter of fact, I think it's very dangerous to start isolating certain countries. We have to really take a step back and realize the effect that that takes, whether it be Ukraine, Israel, Egypt. Each one of those countries has to be individually looked at based on what that country is doing, if they're corrupting the money that we're using, that they're using from us, and if it's used against us especially. So those things have to be considered on an individual case-by-case basis.
Right on. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on here on Sunday. Georgia Representative Rich McCormick.